Hi, Rafael. Rafael, how are you? You all right?
Hey Adam, how you doing, man? Good to see you again.
Yeah,
Thanks for having me back.
yeah. No, you're very welcome. I'm glad to have you back on the podcast. We yeah, we got two topics today, and the one you just talking about was like sacrifice.
Yep, big one. I think it's huge for a lot of people to understand that all successes require some sacrifice. And the way I correlate that with people is that, you got to have some balance, which is a huge topic that you're talking about all the time, which I think is very important, and balancing your successes with your wins and your learning experiences, right? No losses, right? You always learn from
Yeah.
everything, so there's no losses.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think that people need to have balance. If you had 10 blocks, meaning 10 blocks of time or 10 objectives that you wanted to accomplish, and you picked a pace that you were going to work at, that you were comfortable with and you could grow in and learn in, and you decided one day that one of those blocks, and we'll just use, your bank account for an example, and you wanted your bank account to grow faster, well, then you've got to take time from some other block in order to dedicate more time to that financial block in order to keep growing, right? And it's the same thing with relationship or family or friends or whatever block you decide for yourself, because you're going to make that decision for yourself as to what's important and when it's important. But I think people get caught up in that I can do it all and I can have it all. And you can, but you just got to be patient in as to when you can have it. And if you want to move faster in one category, then you're going to slow down in another, because you're only one person. There's only so much time in the day. There's only so much effort you can put in. And, if you give everything all the time, something will break, and then you're going to land a disappointment. And then you're going to look back at yourself and say, well, why did that happen? And then you've got to evaluate, and you end up starting the whole process all over again, which is not a bad thing. It's just, did you really accomplish what you were trying to accomplish? And did you get in your timeline? And could you have done it better? Right. And if you're trying to grow every day and trying to learn every day, then you should be getting better every day. And you should be questioning yourself. You should be reflecting, and you should be saying, hey, I got through 2 blocks today and I couldn't get to the other 8. Why? Figure it out, correct it, make it better, and move from there, which is, I'm always telling people to be good at whatever it is you're doing, learn how to get better, and then you just work your ass off to be the best from there. So
Yeah.
that's really the concept of how I look at sacrifice for success. And, unfortunately for me, I think some people do that with their relationships and their family. And that's one of those big blocks that kind of should be stable all the time, I think. But it's not for everyone, so.
Yeah, no, I think that's a really good point. And I think that's really key in society. And I think, especially if you're wanting to be successful, you're trying to build something, and a lot of time has to go into that. There are those kind of sacrifices. And I think if you're not supported in that relationship, and, it has to be mutual. You have to be supported. And I think, like you said, it can put pressure on what you're doing. And like you said as well, about being better and figuring out that, how we manage our time. And if you're not getting those certain things done, like, reflect on that and see what you need to do better, isn't it? And it's not just one thing, is it? It's like all these other things connected to it.
Right, because I think humans are pretty dynamic, right? And I think humans are built to win, period. I think that the day you come out of the womb and come into the world, then you're designed to be a winner. You've got to figure out who you are and who you want to be and who you're going to portray into the world and how you're going to impact the world, either positively or negatively. I mean, that's your choice. You actually get to choose whether you want to be this quote unquote good guy or the bad guy,
Yeah.
So, which is pretty cool, right? It's that free will thing, but making those, we touched on it a little bit off mic, and it was about, the why are we doing what we're doing? And, the impact that you may or may not have in someone's life or in your own life. And the reality is that do you really need to have a strong support system to be successful? Yes. I think the answer is yes, absolutely yes. But that strong support system has to be grounded with you first. Because if you're not going to believe in yourself, and you're not going to support yourself, and you're not going to do whatever it takes for you to be successful, no one's going to jump on that bandwagon, man. You're not going to just miraculously have somebody who believes in you more than you believe in yourself. Even though you hear stories, right, where people say like, oh, I saw this artist playing in a bar and they don't know how good they are, they don't believe in themselves, or, but you think Usain Bolt wakes up in the morning and doesn't think he's the fastest man alive? I mean, really?
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's it.
At some point you have to believe in yourself, right? I mean, at some point you have to believe in yourself that you can be who you want to be in order for it to come to fruition. And you can, maybe it's confidence, right? It's a high level of confidence, you would hope. Maybe it's some people will perceive that as being cocky. Some people will perceive that as being arrogant. But the reality is that, maybe you're just bold enough to go take a chance that nobody else would take. I wonder if that's a little bit more important than falling into line with the crowd and just being a sheep and following what everybody else does and going home every night saying, I wish I would have. Well, stop wishing and go do. Just go do it. Go figure it out. Go learn. Go take your lumps. Keep pressing one step at a time. And as long as you're moving forward and making progress, then you can learn to live within the process of what you're doing and accomplishing, and learning to love the process. Because if you learn to love the process, everything else will fall into place, right? Like I'm a big believer that if you do the right thing all the time, no matter what it is you're doing, that, financially, everything will fall into place. Emotionally, everything will fall into place. Relationships will fall into place. Your family will fall into place. It's the inconsistency, which that's a big topic for you. You're always preaching consistency, which I think is great. But, being consistent in all of that will field results, period.
Yeah, no, exactly. Yeah. And I really appreciate that. And, it really means a lot. And I think I completely agree with what you said. We need that belief in ourselves as well as sometimes other people, but you have to first believe in yourself. And like you said, there's these musicians who are playing music and they don't know how good they are. And sometimes it takes other people to say, oh, you are quite good, to kind of get that person to think. Kind of need that that external part of it. But it has to kind of come from you. Sometimes you could have loads of people saying, I know this from personal experience of somebody I know, makes really good music. And I'll say to this person, it's really, really great. It's really amazing. But they're still not putting that music out. It has to come from that person.
Right. So why do you think that is? You think it's just their flat out fear of rejection? Do you think it's confidence? Do you think it's, so much insecurity that they can't handle the constructive criticism that may come their way? I mean, what do you think that comes from? Because it's not hard for me to understand it, because obviously we all have, times where we're not as confident, or maybe we have a little self-reflection and maybe we don't look at ourselves in a positive light from time to time, right? I mean, I think we all do that. I think just humans do that in general. So, but when you have somebody who's just got so much raw talent or so much ability or has this ability to impact so many people, and yet they just don't, right? I mean, is it just they're just making that choice? They're using that free will to say, I'm gonna keep it all to myself.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's like you said, the belief system that person has, and like anxiety. It could be like fear, even fear of success. I mean, and fear of failure and what other people are going to think. And that kind of can probably stem from experience, like in previous life, isn't it? Like, in the past.
Yeah. Yeah. It's
Um,
amazing how important it is, I'm a father, and how important it is to be super positive with your children and promote them as much as you can. And
mm,
along the way, teaching them to work hard and that the value of a dollar and the value of hard work and the value of reputation, because, I've got a teenage daughter. So it's extremely important for me to know that I can put my head down and know that if God forbid something happened to me or my wife, that, our daughter could take care of herself. She could
mm,
handle it right now at 16. She'd figure it out. And they've got
yeah.
to have confidence. And it's amazing to me when you see young, especially teenage girls that lack confidence. And I think a lot of that all stems from some experience that they had when they were 7 or 8 or 5 or 6 or 11 or 12. And somebody just planted a negative seed.
Mm,
And you do that, I mean, you might as well just spray weed killer on it, right? You just destroyed somebody. So I think it's super important, like from a parent's perspective, it's going to take my
mm,
entire life to get it right. And
yeah.
I can have one bad day and ruin it all.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I'm super, super focused on trying not to have that bad day, which is a
Yeah.
massive amount of pressure for any parent.
Yeah.
But the reality is it's all about building that stability. And I think, you got a person who's in their 20s or their 30s or their 40s or their 50s, and they lack confidence. You think to yourself, wow, I wonder if there was some moment that happened early on, like you said, that's
Mm,
just really kind of crushed. So how do you reverse that? How do you get that person out of that mode? That's the big question, right? I mean, you're
yeah.
working with people, you're coaching, I'm mentoring, I'm working with
Yeah.
people. How do you get that person from that mindset to flip that switch that
Mm,
is literally it's right in between their ears is the switch. How do you do
yeah.
that?
No, that's a really good point. Good question. I think like it's bringing the person back to like their core beliefs and breaking things down. Um, addressing why the person feels that way. Um, what caused it, and just literally kind of like untangling that string and just bit by bit breaking it down. And I think sometimes that is something that it can take 20 minutes. Some people it could take a couple of weeks or a couple of days. It's but yeah,
And others years.
yeah, yeah, in years. And I think it goes back to how deep it is, how deeply rooted it is, and how if there's trauma involved, then that's a whole different situation, because that's not something I deal with, because that would need like counseling and all that. So
Yeah, yeah.
it can be many things, but I think if it's something that is an event that happened, the person can kind of go to that and figure it out.
Yeah, and I think that's like a big deal. Like, I tell people a lot of times that, you know, you should wake up every morning. Most humans wake up every morning. The first thing they do is go into their restroom, right, or their
Mm,
toilet, right? And there's usually a mirror in there, and they should look in the mirror. And the first thing they should do every morning is remind themselves how badass they are. Look in the
yeah.
mirror, point at that person in the mirror, and remind yourself how badass you really are,
Mm,
right? And I think if you do that over and over and over again, and you start to believe that you are, then you'll
mm,
realize how much you can really accomplish as a human,
mm,
and go figure it out and go get it done and have a positive outlook and a positive mindset, because it's really what it comes down to. If you don't have a positive mindset, how are you going to accomplish anything? Are you just going to go do and just be, or are you going to go create and inspire?
mm. Yeah, I think that's a really good. I think that's a really good point. I think that's a really good way to start your days, by telling yourself that you're great and that you're enough and that you're go-getter and things are going to work out, and all these kind of like positive affirmations, isn't it? Because I think as well, like how you start your day kind of ripples throughout the day, and then that leads on
Absolutely,
to,
100%.
like it's like I realized today, because I had to go to the post office to collect my brother's parcel early this morning, and I usually like to wake up. I like to have a coffee, have my breakfast, and because I wasn't doing that first thing because I had to go, I kind of felt like a bit negative, and I was like, "Oh man, I really want my coffee." And then I was feeling I was feeling negative until I had my coffee, but then I was like, I shouldn't. Do you know what I mean? Rely on the coffee to make me feel good. I should just
Right.
start my. I think we can kind of all kind of have these habits that we're not aware of, if you know what I mean. Like,
Yeah, I think that you can easily get caught up in that, right? There's so many people. I mean, I love drinking coffee. I will drink coffee all day long if my body would take it, right? But
yeah,
yeah, I mean, if it's part of your morning routine, and if you get out of your routine, it can be uncomfortable, right?
yeah,
But you still went and got the parcel. You still went and executed what you went out to do, right? And eventually you got your coffee. So all is good in the world, because we don't want Adam without coffee. Trust me, we don't want that.
yeah,
You know, but yeah, I mean, it's like you can get caught in that routine, and I think it all kind of comes back to, you know, why do people lack the confidence, or why don't they believe in themselves? And you have to believe in yourself. And if you believe in yourself, then you can pretty much accomplish anything you want. And it really does go back. It's such a cliche, right? You can be anything in the world you want to be. You can do anything you want to be. And it's so simple, but I think that humanity has heard that for so long, and they don't realize how hard things can be and how difficult they are to have successes. That I think the younger generations in our society today is very on the spot. They want things now. They want it quick. That it's now or never. And you forget that it takes a lot of hard work. It takes a lot of hard work and sacrifice to achieve the goals and objectives that you set for yourself, regardless of what they are.
yeah,
And we're talking about the effort. You got to put the effort in every day. Every day you got to remind yourself that you're pretty damn special. If not the most special person in the entire planet, because you should feel that way about yourself. And that it's requires hard work. It's a lot of dedication, hard work, and sacrifice.
and I think as well, like with that hard work and that sacrifice, it pays off. It's something that might not be paying off right now, but it will pay off. And I think that's reaffirming that to yourself, isn't it? And telling yourself that just because you might not have it today, you're going to have it. It's still going to work out. Like if you haven't got that thing now, it will come apart at some point.
Yeah,
if you're working towards it.
Of course. Absolutely. Because I mean, we know there's no such thing as an overnight success, right? I mean, it just doesn't happen, and I think the perception of what people think the process actually is what hinders a lot of people. And they get, you get disappointed, right? If you said to yourself, oh, I want to be a millionaire by age 25, and age 25 comes around and you have $10 in your account, does that mean that you're an overnight success or that you're an overnight failure? Absolutely not. I mean, you got stories out there every single day. I mean, Dwayne Johnson, The Rock, right? He's always been big about talking about, I get out of college, I get, to a certain point, and I've got $7 in my pocket. That's all I've got. That's it. I got no home, I got no car, I got nothing, I got $7. Now the guy's clipping, $50-60 million a movie. And he's an overnight success. No, the guy's been working at it his whole life. He's put his entire life into building that career for himself and working on that brand and building and building and building. And you know what? The difference, I think, for a lot of people is that you see someone who's 45 or 50 years old and has this massive amount of success. The difference is they started when they were 20.
Yeah.
If you wait till you're 30 or 40 or 50, which is fine, there's nothing wrong with that. but don't expect to have the same success as someone who is your age that started 20 years before you working on that success. It's not reality. It's not going to happen, you know, unless you strike a oil well or a gold mine by accident somewhere on a vacation. I mean,
No, I agree. I agree. And I think like everyone sees like the tip of the iceberg. Everyone sees that person or that figure or that business for what it is today. They don't see all the hard work that it took to get to that place that they're at now, unless you do your research or look into the background of it, of how it came to what it is. Because I saw like a quote, and I think it was Coca-Cola, and I think they said like they sold like in their first month 25 bottles.
right.
And you
And it
look
was
at it
probably to
now.
all employees.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, look at the old pictures. I love seeing the old pictures of like, you know, regardless of what your opinion is of an organization, that's not what we're talking about today, right? But you look at the old pictures of like, you know, of Apple when it started. You know, the first building they worked out of their garage. You know, you look at IBM. You know, you see these pictures of Bill Gates and you
Jeff
know
Bezos.
Jeff Bezos and these
Yeah.
guys, and you know, guys. There's that famous picture of Bezos in his apartment in a room with the Amazon spray painted on a sheet, right? It's like, this is where we started, and they show you their facilities now, and it's like, you know, people forget that part of the process, and people are so enamored with the success of things that they forget all the hard work it takes. I mean, look, it's no different than you and I. I mean, we're here. We're kind of, you know, we're at the ground roots, man. We're putting in the work, you know?
Yeah, that's it. I agree. I think it's good as well to come from these like humble beginnings, isn't it? Because you have to have this with you can't. It's very rare to have this without that success. You kind of need that journey and that process to see how far you've come. Like you look at Joe Rogan's podcast, for example, on his early videos, he's doing them on on a streaming website in his room. And then he's got this studio. He's put about 10 years into doing it, and now he's got $100 million deal.
Yeah, and I think people forget about that time that he did it from his living room, right? Or his car, or, you know, the dining room table. I think people forget about those things. And when you lose, I don't think that people like, I would like to think people like Joe Rogan, for example, have never forgotten their humble beginnings. And look, that guy's been in entertainment for a really, really long time. You know, I personally think he's a really good comedian. So, but you know, he's extremely diverse. But he's been working on that craft his entire life.
Oh yeah, man.
You know,
Absolutely.
You know, and you look at people that, you know, when they've got 50 million followers on Instagram, you know, that did not happen in 30 days. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
so you just can't forget about the hard work and the sacrifice that goes with it. And, you know, managing your time and your balance will help you get where you need to get to in the time you're supposed to get there, and do it with pride and joy, right?
Yeah. No, exactly, yeah. And it's so important, I think, to reflect on that, isn't it? And
absolutely. You've got to study the process. I mean, you got to learn the process, and because how do you get better if you don't enjoy the process of learning and growing and succeeding? Then why are you doing it? Right? And so if you don't study the process and keep your feet grounded, you're not going to learn how to do it better the next time.
Yeah.
You know, if it took you 20 years to come up with one great idea and you learn nothing along the way, guess what? It's going to take you another 20 years for the second great idea.
Yeah. Yeah. No,
you know,
that's so true.
So I think there's a lot you can take from that, and be really, really thoughtful and really introverted on that thought. You can sit down by yourself and think about that one quite a bit.
Yeah. So it's so deep, isn't it? And it's so real. I think it definitely hits home. especially with, you know, a lot of people who are successful and a lot of people who have, you know, made themselves. It's all goes back to that, doesn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. 100%. I think that, you know, that's where your grounding comes in. It goes back to that level of confidence that you may or may not have if, you know, you had a bad experience, you know, somewhere along the way, and you can't look at yourself in the mirror and be really happy with who you are. I think a lot of people are driven by others telling them that they can't accomplish something. And so they're really driven to prove those people wrong. And in reality, it's right. Are you trying to prove them wrong? Or are you trying to prove yourself right? And I think if you're looking at it from the perspective that you're trying to prove somebody else wrong and show someone that you can when they said you couldn't, for me, that's like a negative perspective. If you believe that you can accomplish something and you want to go about it and go get it, I believe that if you're looking at it that you want to prove yourself correct or right, then that's coming from a positive perspective. I think your opportunity of success is much higher, and you're going to be happier about it, you know?
Because that's like, sorry.
No, go ahead.
Because that's like more within yourself, isn't it? Your passion or burning desire within yourself. Whereas if you're doing it kind of probably subconsciously to prove something to somebody or something or someone.
Yeah,
like
I think
said,
if you're
not
trying
the
to,
same.
of course, 1,000%. But I think if you're trying to prove something to somebody, then that's motivation. But if you're trying to prove it to yourself, well, that's inspiration. Because, you know, motivation, you know, I think we talked about that last time. Motivation, I mean, you can be bought. Motivation can be bought, right? I can tell you right now, hey, Adam, you're going to do 10 podcasts a day for the next 30 days. And if you can get that done, I'm going to give you $100,000. And you're going to be like, I got this. I'm going to get it done. I'm going to do it, right? Your content may be junk, right? But you're going to get that objective done because you're motivated for that 6-figure paycheck. But if I tell you, hey, you put out 10 pieces of content and they need to be pure, and it doesn't matter how long it takes for you to do it, and I'm going to pay you $0, but you're going to change your life and you're going to change someone else's life. And you say, you know, I can do that because I want to do that for me and myself. Now you're inspired. So I think that doing it to prove someone wrong is motivation. Doing it to prove yourself right is inspiration. I like that. I might have to make a t-shirt out of that, Adam.
Yeah. I know, that's a good quote, man. It's definitely poster worthy, that.
Yeah, maybe that's today's post. Who knows?
Well, that's what I'll do. Well. I did a quote, and what my idea was, what I've been doing is going through some of my podcasts and taking quotes people have said from them and putting them into a wallpaper post. So I did that on one of my other ones. So I'll do that with that, and I'll tag you in it, and I'll put your name on it. So
cool. I'll take all the promo I can get, man.
Yeah. But no, it's so true, isn't it? And like, you know, I think we can all be motivated and inspired. I think it can be through, like, you know, video, text, someone saying something. There's so many forms of it.
Yeah, there's all kinds. I mean, in 2020, we have so much opportunity to reach out and touch so many people in so many different ways that, you know, for anybody who has a message, regardless of what the message is, I mean, that's the kind of the beauty of the world, right, of humanity, is that, you know, you do get to say what you want to say, whether someone is going to agree with it or not. And you got to respect it, right? You don't have to like it. You know, you have to listen to it, but you certainly have to respect the fact that everyone gets to voice their opinion and put it out into the universe. And so, you know, I'm very grateful that we have these platforms that we can get together and talk on and put out stuff. You know, I'm at a stage in my life where I feel like in order for me to continue growing and learning, I need to share what I have. And,
you
know, I'll make some people think, I'll make others think I'm stupid. You know, I might inspire somebody, you know, somebody may inspire me. So yeah, it's just really about growing, being out there, being in the universe,
Yeah.
you know, changing and evolving. I think that's just
Yeah.
kind of what humanity needs. I really think we're really, really close to just being a great society in general. But, you know, I don't know that I want to live on another planet, but, you know,
Yeah, Mars.
this is the only choice we have right now at the moment. So we'll rock with it.
Yeah. No, I think I completely agree. And I think like, it's about like, you know, being the best version of yourself, isn't it? Being happy, being passionate, and putting something out there. You know, if you put something out there that changes someone else's life or changes their day, then that's what it's all about. I find, you know, it's it's putting out more than what you expect to receive back, isn't it?
Well, yeah, I mean, that's when you're doing that, and your mindset is in that place. And I think you're doing whatever it is you're doing, right? Whether you're, you know, whether you're promoting self-help, or you're promoting coaching, or you're promoting makeup or food. I think if you're doing all of those things with the expectation that you're going to give far more than you're ever going to receive, then I think you're doing it from a point of inspiration. And when you do it from a point of inspiration, it makes a huge difference in the quality of the content. You know, the authenticity, the authenticity is just, it's day and night. So you can kind of tell when people are posting up and putting content out there, having conversations with you, when they're looking to benefit themselves versus benefit a cause or the agenda for everyone. So, and it happens a lot in business. I mean, when you're working, you know, obviously I still work full time. So when you're in business and you're doing your thing, you know, I've really tried to work into a place where partnerships are super important to be successful. And sometimes you'll run across people where, you know, they have no interest in having a partnership. They just want to get the best deal for themselves all the time, regardless of the outcome, regardless of how it works out for anybody else. It's only their self-interest. And I have found that makes it really hard, regardless of what kind of company you have, to work well and have a lot of success. I think that when you build partnerships, you know, you get this emotional obligation from both sides to want the other one to do well and succeed. And so you'll bend over backwards and you'll do the things you need to do to make that happen. And vice versa, the customer will actually do things to help you be successful. So I think it just works better that way. And so I think that, you know, authenticity in business is super, super important. You know, depending on what kind of culture you work in. I mean, if you work in a culture that's, you know, all about the dollar, and that's where you want to work and that's where you want to be, you just have to be prepared mentally. Because if you're not making the dollars, they're going to cut you out.
Yeah.
You know, so you just got to be okay with that. If you want to work for a company that's all about, you know, inspiration and feeding the world and feeding the, you know, the mindset of the world, then you go find that place. And it all comes back down to how you look at yourself, how you feel about yourself, what sacrifices you're willing to make for the betterment of yourself or your goals and objectives. And, you know, it takes a lot of self-thought and takes a lot of self-evaluation. You know, you do have to be careful not to judge yourself too heavily, but you certainly have to evaluate where you are and who you are and where you're trying to get to. And then that comes back to that, you know, where we started the day with sacrificing and making sure your blocks are balanced. And if one block is lagging, then either you're not giving it enough attention and love, or you need to give it more, regardless of how much of the block it's taking of your day. And so, you know, working through all of that, staying super consistent. And I think if you do all those things, like I tell my team at my office, that if you've got a good product, if you have an honest product, if you're authentic and you're consistent, then success is inevitable. May not come tomorrow. It may not be next week, but it's inevitable. If you've got all those tangibles in place and you're consistent, then success is inevitable. You know, so I think it applies to people in the same way it applies to business. the payoffs are different.
Mm. Yeah, no, I completely agree. And I think, like you said, the touch base on one of the things that you said is like the people that you work with, you know, like some people might be out for themselves, you know, especially in business and agreements. And if you're not prepared for that, then you can probably get swallowed up by it. And you probably have to prepare yourself to some extent going into those kind of like scenarios and working in that certain kind of business. And that kind of comes to your values, doesn't it? You know, what are your values as a person? What are your business values? What are those of a person's? And like, you know, where do you meet each other in the middle with that? And
Yeah, I mean, I think that goes across the board for everything, right? I mean, if you don't have a moral compass established, and you're not firm in that, you'll get chewed up in any environment. You know, it just if you're in the corporate environment, it just may impact you financially more than if you were in a family environment or a friend environment or community environment where it just may chew you up emotionally. But yeah, if you're not grounded, you're not certain of who you are, and you walk into a scenario that you're unfamiliar with, yeah, you're probably going to get chewed up and spit out. So you've got to be prepared for that. And that just goes back to, how are you going to feel about that when it happens to you? You get to choose how you feel, right? You get to choose whether you're going to be defeated and depressed, or you're going to be inspired and motivated.
Yeah,
your choice.
It's how you use that, isn't it? And how you bounce back. It's a bit like that movie, for example, I won't go too much into it, like The Wolf of Wall Street. The scene where he goes the first day and he's being yelled at and the guy's calling him all kinds of curse words. And he's like, but he kind of used that. He had like a different effect on him, where some people, you know, would be like, damn, listen for me. And then that's it. Whereas,
I'm out of here. See ya. And it's true, right? It happens. It's you know, and then it's like that whole, you know, the famous Rocky movie, right? Where it's not how hard you get knocked down. It's how you get up, or something along those lines. Right. And so it's such a common theme that goes back to Shakespeare, right? Such a common theme in the world. And it's amazing how you just have to be reminded. I mean, I think it's good for people to be reminded every once in a while on how important they are to the world, and how important they are to each other and their families and their friends and their communities, and how they impact people. And I think that's where people like you come in, is, hey, you know what? You're a voice out there to remind people how important they can be, and how important they already are, and how important they should be, and how much of an impact they can make. And, you know, you got to acknowledge that. You got to look in that mirror every morning and be like, yeah, you know what? I am important. I am special. You know, I am a badass, right? And I can go do anything I want. I can accomplish anything I want. Nobody says it's going to be easy. Nobody's ever, you know, claimed that fame will be easy, or success will be easy, or financial success will be easy, or even relationship success. Look, I've been with my wife for almost 30 years, and I'll tell you that it has been a relative, thanks. And it has been a relatively easy 30 years, right? In the sense that I would not want to be anywhere else for that time frame, and I certainly would be the person that I am today without having that experience. You know, and I knew the moment I met her that I was going to marry her, which is, I get it. It's cliche and you're full of shit, Raph, and I get it, but it's the truth. And, you know, has it been perfect? I'm going to tell you that, yes, for me, it's been absolutely perfect. Through whatever challenges that we've had, through whatever learning experiences, through whatever growth opportunities, for me, it's been perfect, because it's helped mold me as to who I am today, right? Awesome sounding board, checks me when my head gets too big, all those things that you're looking for. So I think that I think it all comes down to having that mindset, being positive. Look at the positive side of your situation, and understand that, one, it could be a lot worse, for sure, right? Two, are you going to grow from it? You're going to learn from it, or you're going to fail. It's that simple. And if you choose to do the latter, then I think you're going to have a lot more success and a lot more freedom moving forward. You just have better understanding, right? And so whether it comes to relationships or your personal growth or your friendship growth or, your business growth, you've got to have that relationship and you've got to have that understanding of who you are. But it all stems back to your sacrifice and your confidence. And you've got to wake up every morning and look in the mirror and be that person. You've got to believe in yourself. We touched on it earlier. I find it somewhat oddly unique when you hear people's stories tell you about, I knew that person was going to make it. I believed in them long before they believed in themselves. And I think that comes from a place of hope, because the reality, that person is not going to make it until they start believing in themselves. I mean, it's that simple. Until you start believing in yourself and believe you have something to offer and have impact, you're not going to make it.
No, I
it's
completely
not
agree.
going to fall into your lap.
Yeah, I think that's the thing. And, like in relationships, there's that balance, isn't it? You've got to have that balance and that mutual synergy and support and work through things. And, it's not 90% one side and 10% the other. It's got to be that 50% each side. And people, like you said, in life, sometimes expect things just to happen for them. And when things don't go their way, they crumble and worry and dwell. I know it with something happened with somebody I know recently where they lost their job. They weren't. Yeah, I understand that it's difficult when that happens and you do feel negative, but there has to come a point where you stand up for yourself and you go, I'm going to do something about this. I'm not going to be a victim. I am strong enough that I can deal with the situation. And I think that is something that's important as well in people, is that we need to find that place in ourselves. Like you said, you have to believe in yourself that it's going to work out.
Yeah. Well, the thing is like, I just had to stop, but what's more dangerous, a defeated soul or an inspired soul? Which one can accomplish more? A defeated soul or an inspired soul?
I think like if you're sorry.
A defeated soul is going to impact one person, right? An inspired soul can impact millions. And I say dangerous just because it's an outlandish word, right? Dangerous. It's catchy.
Yeah. I think as well, like you've got to I think if you've been to a dark place, isn't it? It's that kind of, it gives you that kind of fire inside, I think. It's interesting, like you said, inspiration and how all these different people become successful. 'Cause, all these people in life have all had different experiences, haven't they?
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, you don't think that the Bezos of the world or the Mark Cubans of the world or the Zuckerbergs or the IBMs or the Apples or the Coca-Colas. I mean, you said it earlier, Coca-Cola sold something like 25 bottles their first month. They could have quit. They could have shut it down, right? And we'd have no Coca-Cola today, or we'd have no Apple. There'd be no Zoom may not exist, right? If people shut it down. You've got to be that person that is willing to take the chance and the risk and move forward. And go and put themselves out there.
Yeah. Reminded me of that as well. I was listening to Gary Vee's speech when he did one of his keynotes, and he said that Blockbuster, remember Blockbuster back in the day? They had an opportunity to buy Netflix for $40 million. and they
Really?
they didn't take the opportunity and it went bust. So
I heard something about that too, as well. Is that you know, people say, oh, Netflix killed the blockbusters of the world, and you think about it, and it's like, no, people killed the blockbuster of the world, because if your experience at Blockbuster would have been so radically amazing every time you went, you wouldn't go, oh, let me do this Netflix thing. You know, I mean, people would, don't get me wrong. People would, right? You've got technology and things change, but it wouldn't have died like that. People would have put up a fight. You know, I don't get the same customer service from Netflix that I do from Blockbuster. That's for damn sure.
Yeah.
You know, Netflix doesn't know me other than by what I choose to watch on Netflix. Netflix doesn't know me. And my guy at Blockbuster might have been my high school buddy and knew me. It might be my golfing partner or my bowling partner or my drinking partner.
Yeah.
That guy knows what I like, and he's going to say, hey, you got to see this movie. Here it is, right? Now, the ease of Netflix is great, being able to watch the same movie that a million other people are watching and not have to leave your couch. It's great.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
But, you know, technology, people think that technology kills companies, and I think companies kill themselves by not providing the content and the customer service and the desires that people have. Because why would you pay twice as much for something that you're not that you can get for half the price if you're going to get the same experience? If you're going to go to a Blockbuster and get shitty customer service, well, I'd rather go pay Netflix and not get any customer service, because no service is better than shitty service.
Yeah.
So
no, that's completely true, isn't it?
Yeah. So there's a few sides to it all, right? I mean, technology is great. I love it. I'm not super IT. I mean, by any means. Sometimes I have a hard time turning my computer on, but but
it's,
you know.
No, it's true. It's all interlinked, isn't it?
Yeah. And it's growth. I mean, if you can look at it as growth, right? I think I read a quote one time about Bill Gates likes to hire super lazy people because they will find the easiest way to get it done.
Damn.
Which is crazy, right? That is so against everything
recruitment
that recruitment goes by, and you want to get the best of the best, and you want the person who's got the Ivy League degree. And when I read that, I was like, wow, you know, that's pretty damn interesting that you would even think to yourself, let me go find the laziest person I can, because that person is going to figure out how to get it done the most efficient way.
Yeah.
And then I'll take it from there and I'll tweak it to a way to meet my standards, right? But that's insane. That's an insane thought. And I mean, you're talking about, I mean, he is the wealthiest person in the world, right? On paper.
Yeah.
You know, so pretty wild.
It is insane. And I think, like, you can take somebody from a certain background with no experience or training in certain areas, and then you can then kind of mold them and shape them to learn and grow, can't you? I think that's like the amazing thing with people, is that we're like, what's the word? We're very, is it malleable? We adapt.
Yeah. Very adapt. Humans can adapt to just about anything. And I don't think that, you know, being smart has nothing to do with your intelligence. You know, those two things have nothing to do with your common sense. Those three things have nothing to do with your street knowledge. You know, those four things have nothing to do with your emotional knowledge and growth. So when you're thinking about that comment that I'm going to hire the laziest person I can find to accomplish this task or this goal, he's truly looking at your successes have nothing to do with your intelligence, in the sense that maybe you just haven't been put in the right place yet. Maybe you haven't been given the right opportunity, or you haven't earned the right opportunity, or you haven't practiced enough to get lucky. So it's pretty interesting. I mean, that was when I'm telling you, I try to read things as much as I can to learn as much as I can and keep growing. But that one's kind of stuck with me. you know, that one's really stuck with me. And it kind of goes back to think of the sacrifice that individual is willing to make to hire that person. I mean, you're staking your reputation at that point. Yeah, you know, is he going to go bankrupt from that choice? No, obviously, probably not. And so it's not financial, but he's staking his reputation. That's probably more important than the dollars in the bank.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, it's it does blow your mind a little bit, doesn't it? Like, I remember when I was reading, is it Steve Jobs' autobiography, and this guy was saying that Steve Jobs, I think he got a job at, is it Packard Bell? Don't quote me. Packard Bell.
Yeah,
one of these
about right.
Or HP. He went for one of these jobs, and they gave him the night shift because they didn't want Steve Jobs going in the daytime because he wore flip flops and like a trench coat. he just was, and he didn't what. He just looked rugged, and they hired him, but they gave him the position to work at nighttime when no one else is around. And it's like you said, you know, what is the right kind of person? Is there such thing as the right person to hire? You know, like it's kind of crazy when you think about it.
Yeah, you know, and that comes back to, you know, I think Gary Vee's famous for saying it or promoting it anyways, that no one's good at hiring. People are really good at recruiting, and you just have to learn how to be really good at firing fast. You know, because in an interview, you're going to get the best version of that person for 30 or 45 minutes or an hour, however long you sit down with that person, you know. And I think people are really good at recruiting. You can watch somebody over a period of time and say, hey, you know what, that person's going to fit into my culture. They're going to fit into my organization. Great. Let me go figure out how to go get them. Right. And so that I think a lot of people are good at, as long as they understand what component they're trying to fit, or what area in their expertise they're trying to fit, or, you know, where they're lacking in their organization. Can they go find that piece that makes their organization better? So I think people are really good at that. But hiring, I don't think anybody's really good at it. You know, I tend to agree with his statement there that, yeah, I mean, I've hired hundreds or thousands, of people in my lifetime. And I don't think that, you know, I've probably gotten it right a very small percentage of the time. But I think if you learn how to be quick at firing and explaining to people, hey, you're just not going to fit in here, I think that's probably your best route for success when it comes to that. So again, for someone to say, I'm going to hire the laziest person I can find, is mind blowing to me.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, but there's intent, right? There's intent there.
Yeah.
And I think that, you know, when you're looking at yourself and you're deciding what your goals and objectives are going to be, it's about, you got to have intent. You need to have the intent behind the decisions that you make in order for your decision to remotely have an opportunity at success. Still going to take hard work, still going to take time. You still have to do all those other things we've been talking about today, but you have to have intent. And in order for you to have intent, you have to really believe in yourself, which means you got to wake up every morning and tell yourself how much you believe in yourself and give yourself those affirmations. And I know it's cheesy and it's so cliche, but it is reality. The reality is that if you don't believe in yourself, no one's going to believe it.
Yeah.
Right. So then you've got your intent, and then you go and execute, and then you put in the hard work. And then 20 years from now, you can become an overnight success, which is awesome.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I think it's you know, a lot of attraction, isn't it? You know, what you think you become, and it's like if a tree thought it wasn't strong and firm, it wouldn't be grounded and it'd be blown over.
Yeah,
you know,
absolutely.
And I think like it's so important. I think it's something that, you know, people need to, you know, be educated on, like, you know, especially in society. You know, I think there'd be a lot less things going on with people if they knew that and they reinforce that into, you know, their daily, weekly life. And like you said, you can tell somebody that they're great, and it might help a little bit, but it's got to spark something in them for them to believe it. And I've experienced that in relationships with people where I felt drained emotionally because I've put a lot of energy into supporting the person or trying to boost them. But if they're not feeding that themselves, then that's
yeah, and
it.
I mean, and look, there is some sense of reality with all of that too, as well, where, you know, if you want to be a world-class sprinter, you know, you can work as hard as you want and do all the things, but, you know, if you're not fast, you're not fast, right?
Mm-hmm.
But that doesn't mean that you can't be a sprinter. It just may mean that you may not be the fastest sprinter.
Yeah.
If you, you know, if you want to write books because you want to be an author, you know, you may not be considered the best author of all time, but that doesn't mean you can't be an author.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and so you have to get to that place where, you know, reality becomes your reality in a sense, right?
Yeah.
In other words, there's no delusion as to how much success you can have. And, you know, like, for example, I mean, I'm 46 years old, and if I say I want to go break the world record of deadlift, the probability of that happening is not very high, not impossible, but not high. And so you have to kind of think, you know, where's the reality become my reality? And doesn't mean I can't be a great, you know, great lifter. It just means I may not be able to attain that in the sense that, you know, can only be one. There's always going to be somebody out there that's a little bit better than you, maybe, right? And there's always going to be somebody out there that's maybe working a little harder than you, maybe. So, you know, if you get struck with that reality, it goes back to our earlier part of the conversation is you've got to choose how you're going to feel about that. You know, and what the next step is going to be. Is it going to be progress or regress? And so you've got to figure that piece out. And having that confidence in the morning to say that you believe in yourself and you know that you're a badass, that makes a huge difference on how you react to maybe moments of reality or reality checks or things not going your way or not getting your cup of coffee first thing, you know? Yeah. And cursing your brother all morning, I'm sure, you know, oh man, if I didn't have to do this for my brother, I would have had my coffee already. So you know, and I think it all circles back, right? It all comes back around, and it's about the security that you have within yourself to believe in yourself and trust in yourself and enjoy the process, learn to love that process and not focus on results more than focusing on your growth as a human and how you grow through the process and how you get better at whatever it is you're doing. Right.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I'm always saying it, right? Be good at what you're doing. Whatever you're doing, be good at it, because being good at it, you know, being good at what you're doing means that you have pride. It means that you have pride in your work and the outcome. Okay. Taking the time to learn, get better means that you are inspired by the process and that you have a mindset that says, I want to be better than just good. Okay. And then working your ass off to be the best, that's just straight up motivation. That is just straight up killer instinct. I want to be better than everybody else because I can, because I want to work that hard to get it. So, you know, I think that's the first time, Adam, I've actually put some clarity to that statement that I make pretty much in every single post. You know, where maybe some people understand it a little bit better. I mean, I think it's a pretty simple statement and it's pretty direct, but I think that's the first time in fact, I know for a fact that is the first time that I have ever explained how I came up with that and what that means to me.
No, and I think it's great the way you put it. I think it's like superb, and I think it's spot on. And it does definitely come full circle, doesn't it?
100%. No doubt.
No, it's definitely it. It makes you really think. It's powerful. It's powerful when you think about it, isn't it? When you break it down.
Yeah, I don't know that that I've thought about it, and I've really, obviously when you're trying to create a brand and you're putting your stuff out there, you want to be consistent, right? And I always kind of knew that would be kind of my statement, because it's kind of like my mantra, I don't want to be stagnant. And then as I've thought about it, it's really what it means to me. And I hope that, somebody hears that and understands it, and maybe they get a little bit different perspective on that comment. And it's not just some guy pointing a finger at a camera for 60 seconds, like, be good, get better, work your ass off, there's actual, there's real meaning behind that, so yeah. That's the first time I've shared that, man. I appreciate it.
No, you're welcome, man. I mean, I'm so happy to have you back on the podcast, and I think it's important to talk about things that are real and ongoing, and that are important to us as, people, and to share that and to spread that message and to put that out there for people to take something from it.
Yeah, I agree. And I want to thank you for inviting me back and, giving me a platform to talk on and create good, open conversation and dialogue. So I think what you're doing is powerful and it's important, man. So keep doing it. Keep doing your thing,
Yeah.
Keep doing you. What is it? Be good. Whatever you're doing, be good, buddy.
Yeah.
Learn how to get better and then work your ass off to be the best. There you go.
Yeah.
So,
no, cheers,
so I appreciate the time, man, as always. And I hope we get to do it again soon.
Yeah, of course.
I do enjoy your platform, and again, I think you're doing an awesome job, doing great things out there. So, and whether you know it or not, you've got a worldwide impact. I know you've got followers from all over the world, and you're reaching out to people all over the world. So you're getting a lot of different perspectives. So I think it's great. So keep it up, man.
Cheers,
I'm really
Ralph,
enjoying
man.
it.
Thank you so much, and it really, really means a lot. And I'm so grateful and humbled by from what you said, and I'm really privileged to have you on and to talk to you about what we spoke about. And I'll keep, I'm happy that you like what I'm doing, and I'll keep on doing it, and I'll be happy to have you on again soon. And
yeah, I'd love to, man. We'll connect. Let me know when's a good time, and I'd love to be back on the show. So
yeah,
I appreciate it. Thank you again, and be good, man. I'm glad to be associated with you, brother.
You too, man.
All right, we'll talk soon.
Yeah, take it easy, Ralph. See you soon, mate.
You got it. All right,
cheers,
you got it, man. Be good.
Cheers, man. You too. Cheers.